Vox Machina has its roots as a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, but its world and story are all unique to itself, including its own in-world lore surrounding its creation, magic system, and religions that arose because of those. With currently 9 episodes of the show out so far, we mostly get to see this through Pike Trickfoot, a gnome and cleric who is struggling with her relationship to the Everlight within the show, who feels that the Everlight has chosen to cut her off from the magics that she provides. By the end of episode 9, Pike learns to embrace the Everlight without compromising on who she believes herself to be, but what a lot of fans new to the series might not know is that the Everlight isn't some all-encompassing idea of God, but rather just one of many gods that exist within the show, with some really interesting history behind how they got the world of Vox Machina, Exandria, to where it is at the present time in the story. The Everlight, also known as Sarenrae, is a goddess of redemption and healing, with those two ideas seemingly going hand in hand. She was inspired by an existing character within Dungeons & Dragons' open license lore, and as such is only referred to as the Everlight within the show, turning her into a more original character within Vox Machina's own story. Despite Pike thinking that the goddess of the Everlight is cutting her off from those powers, it is revealed that Pike was only cutting herself off from that power due to issues she had committing to the ideas of the Everlight versus her more vulgar and crude existence that she enjoys with her friends in Vox Machina. With the Everlight being about redemption, Pike is of course welcomed back when she finds her balance, and unlocks even more impressive powers than she had before. As of now, talking to and accessing the powers of the Everlight seem to be something only done through a sense of religious devotion, but there was a time that the Everlight, as well as the other gods of Exandria, were able to interact more directly with the planet and its people that they helped to create. This was before an event called the Great Divergence, wherein the Everlight and the other prime deities, as they are referred to, exiled themselves from this plane of existence and created a divine gate that prevented them and other beings like them from interacting directly with the world, seemingly limiting their magic to what can be harnessed by the sentient peoples of Exandria who may worship them, from humans to elves to gnomes and beyond. This self-imposed exile was done at the end of a turbulent time in Exandria's history known as the Great Calamity, an age where these betrayer gods had escaped from their own prisons and tried to destroy Exandria and its peoples once and for all. With these betrayer gods having already escaped their prisons once, it was decided that the only way to stop something like this from happening again was to make sure that no gods, good or evil, can have direct effect on Exandria. The Everlight isn't the only one of these deities to remain being worshipped. In fact, she is considered one of the deities of lower influence among the 12 prime deities that did not defect to become betrayer gods. For instance, one goddess, Melora, is actually responsible for creating the staff that Keyleth uses in the show, which is an item of great power and importance. However, that does not mean Keyleth herself worships Melora. While some elves from her tribe may worship some gods or goddesses, the primary focus of the Ashari tribes is to guard the portals to elemental planes of existence, with Keyleth in particular being part of the Air Ashari tribe, guarding the gate to the air plane of existence. As such, these tribes can have less of a god-based view of spirituality and instead worship nature itself, and particularly the element of their tribe, with Keyleth being noted as not quite trusting of gods at the beginning of the Critical Role campaign. This likely stems from the fact that while 12 of the gods are noted as being good spirits who just want the people of Exandria to live and develop, such as the Everlight, there are of course the betrayer gods who seek to destroy the people of Exandria despite having an equal hand in creating them with the prime deities. You see, these 12 prime deities and these 9 betrayer gods were responsible for using their powers to shape the world of Exandria and creating the sentient species of the realms, starting first with elves, working their way up to humans, and many other sentient species that followed. This awoke beings known as primordials from within the planet, these sentient embodiments of the naturally occurring forces on the planet that wish to reclaim the planet from the gods and wipe out the living beings of Exandria. Before the deities had reshaped the planet, it was just a place of absolute nature chaos. So it is uncertain why they want to wipe out all the people existing on their planet and return to that particular state. This makes the Ashari worship of nature and its elements a bit interesting to me, as the Titans are the embodiment of nature and they want for the destruction of her people. The Primordial Titans would begin doing untold destruction to the people of Exandria, and the Prime Deities would help the peoples of Exandria by giving them access to magics that they embody to help fight back. The 9 gods who would become the betrayer gods within Exandria decided to side with the Primordial Titans. They wanted to wipe out their creations out of grief, give the planet back to the Titans, and go elsewhere in the universe to try creating new life again. The Prime Deities managed to banish the betrayer gods to a different plane of existence that acted as their prison, and peoples of Exandria were able to use their arcane magic from the Prime Deities to lock away the Primordial Titans in elemental planes of existence as well, whose gates are still guarded by the Ashari tribe that Keyleth comes from to this very day, which once again raises some questions about why these people would be suspicious of the Prime Deities, who gave them the power to lock away these Titans, and why they would worship elemental nature as a concept when it once for all of them to die when in the form of these Primordial Titans. Regardless, these imprisonments led to an age of prosperity for the peoples of Exandria, with the first real civilizations rising up because of it. This is called the Age of Arcanum, called so because of the arcane magics that the Prime Deities bestowed upon the various peoples. It was a time where the world of Exandria first received its current name, and life was able to focus on progressing instead of just surviving the onslaught of destruction from the Primordial Titans. At some point, the immortal race's magics become so unchecked that some evil dude was able to release the betrayer gods from their prison, with the hopes of ascending to godhood himself, as a woman was able to replace the god of death sometime before this. Despite the Primordial Titans being locked away, the betrayer gods still seemed committed to the extinction of the peoples that they created, and continued to destroy Exandria upon their release. I haven't found any reason why they were devoted to the destruction without the Primordial Titans to contend with, but it likely has to do with them being peeved that they were sealed away for so long. This era was known as the Calamity because after so many years of prosperous times in Exandria, all focus on magic was channeled in creating ways to wage war, with untold magical horror being used to wipe out 2/3 of the population of Exandria before the mortals and the Prime Deities were once again able to successfully seal away the betrayer gods. To ensure nothing like this would ever happen again, the Prime Deities, as we discussed earlier in this video, sealed themselves away, making it so that no gods, good or evil, could have the direct influence on the world again, bringing us back to the current age that the show takes place in, after a bit more change coming from mortals redeveloping their society with less influence from the gods. The power of the gods can still be accessed by the most devout followers, of course, as Pike is proof of within the show, so this should also be true of the betrayer gods, whose powers seem to influence some of the more villainous characters within the show. The Everlight in particular is an interesting god because, in addition to them being considered one of lower influence, their beliefs in redemption and rehabilitation ultimately led to their own downfall, with her seemingly willing to extend a chance to the Lord of Hell to redeem theirself, but ultimately just being betrayed by them, leading to a lot of her own followers being killed during the Calamity, leading to a present era where the Everlight is a sort of niche spiritual journey being passed down quietly from one generation to the next among devout followers. This was about as much as I could gather about the Everlight without getting into specific plot spoilers for potential upcoming episodes of future seasons of the show. But if you guys feel there is more information about the Everlight or the other gods that I should be talking about, let me know in a comment down below and maybe we'll make a video about it. See you next time!